and we're Friends Stream Sports. We are friends who stream sports. We stream sports across continents here. Our dear friend Rutledge, who our friend Peter does know, is not here tonight because, quite honestly, he's probably too embarrassed from having a poor outing in the Super Bowl in terms of trying to pick who's going to win the game. So in Rutledge's place, we have the one and the only Peter Fuller here this evening. Peter, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How are you, Connor?
We're doing well here. We are excited now that American football season is over. We're here, we're here to talk some world football, which I think is a lot of fun and should be a good time. I will say we did have a slight technical difficulty, so Peter is just joining us via the audio this evening, but nevertheless we've got some fun topics and we will still be streaming some sports. So Peter, fresh off the news, did you see how that Manchester United game finished?
Yeah, I've seen it. In, it, interesting that it took them to extra time, but they got there in the end, I guess you could say.
McTominay with
Yeah,
that late winner for sure. That was wild.
indeed. Yeah, he's looking good. He's a young potential, you'd say, coming through the ranks there. He's chipped in with a few goals recently, um, for them and a couple of important ones tonight.
Absolutely.
Obviously being
And Peter, if you don't mind, maybe holding the microphone a little bit away from your
oh
face, or maybe turning the microphone volume down just a touch, that'd be wonderful. I think we're getting a little bit of feedback on you.
no
Um,
worries.
but and then you had a big game that you were watching tonight. You know, it's not the Prem League is not just the teams in Manchester and Liverpool, but there was a very important game you were watching.
Yeah, so my other half's a big Burnley fan, and obviously we've got it was the FA Cup this evening. They played Bournemouth. Um, didn't go to plan, shall we say?
Hmm.
Burnley lost 2-0 to Bournemouth, so that's their cup run this year over with. She was quite disappointed. I think I was quite disappointed in the Burnley performance myself, to be fair.
I,
But
I I told you what happened during for the Orlando City last year during their cup run, right? The running of the wall.
yes,
Oh
yes, very
man.
much.
Oh man. Well, I know we've got a lot of comparisons to do and things like that. And first up is we have a Premier League game on the screen. We're going to be talking some men's national teams here, kind of comparing schedules for our respective countries, and not just schedules, but respective storylines for our countries. So Peter, I know England has a pretty important schedule coming up this year. What's going on for England? What are the games coming up, and what are the big storylines that we need to be watching out for?
So I think this year the big one for England is the Euros, um, postponed from last year. Um, but yes, the Euros this year are the big ones. We have got some qualifiers for the Qatar World Cup in there as well, but the big one is this summer, the Euros, where England play Croatia, Scotland, and the Czech Republic in the groups, and then obviously they'd have the round of 16 potential quarter final, and the semis and the final. I think the big storyline around that is that if the schedule stays as it is, England will play all three of their group games at Wembley, and the semi and the final are both scheduled to also be at Wembley. So there's a massive opportunity, I think, there for us to hopefully, with if fans come back as well, especially to have a bit of home advantage and hopefully do quite well. I think if you look at we'll have a couple of friendlies beforehand, which look like Romania and Austria in June to sort of get us prepared for that. Um, but yeah, I think if you look at the team and if key players stay fit, there's a really big opportunity this summer to do something sort of quite remarkable.
So it sounds like the more importance this year is being placed on the Euros even than the World Cup qualifying matches. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think so because obviously in for England the we have the two major tournaments. Obviously the World Cup is the bigger draw when we get round to it. But in terms of qualifiers, we tend to do well in qualifiers. We tend to be one of the better ranked teams, playing against what I guess you'd call inferior opponents. Um, whereas doing something major at the Euros, which is classed to us as a major tournament, is yeah, really important.
Yeah, even a run to the finals, means that if you've beaten a Croatia, you've not just in the group stage but
Yeah,
twice, or you've beaten a Germany, or you've beaten a France. So
yeah, definitely.
definitely, when you think about the quality at the top end of Europe, there's some really important pieces there. What's going on with any storylines in terms of positions that Coach Southgate is still trying to figure out for this squad as they not just head into the Euros, but get ready for the Qatar World Cup?
So I think goalkeeping is somewhere he's probably looking at. I think Pickford has been indifferent this season. He's had some good games, and he's had some really not so good games. I think defensively is probably where Southgate may well see his problems. Um, just because whilst we've got the wing backs seem to be locked down in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ben Chilwell. But I just think that central defensive partnership and sort of maybe that the goalkeeper and that central defender partnership is probably the bit where he maybe hasn't got a set maybe a set people. I think the re-emergence, should I say, of John Stones at Manchester City has been will really help him. I think if Stones can carry that form forward, I think him and Maguire will probably be the two he goes for. I think when you move further up the field, he's sort of got a wealth of potential. He's got a wealth of options, and a lot of players in quite decent form. You look at Foden at the weekend, playing really well against Liverpool. You look at Sterling, you look at Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford. I do think we've got, for the first time in quite a long time, we'll go into a tournament where other teams will worry quite a bit about us, whereas we've maybe gone into tournaments recently worrying more about the impact of their team on us and maybe trying to counteract that rather than thinking, well, we've actually got a team that can do really well. So I think whilst he's got a few issues, he's also got a lot of things that he could be positive about.
Nice. That is good to hear. Yeah, England with their run in the World Cup a couple years ago and their wealth of younger talent, as well as the good veterans, seem to be able to really, have a good run heading in. And it's interesting that you talk about the defense in so many ways. That was the big piece that I still think for the U.S. men's national team is really into consideration here. That needs to be sorted out as we head into the World Cup. That's the big storylines. Well, really, in my opinion, there's two big storylines to be in consideration. Number one is would be the wingbacks. Not only the wingbacks, but the center back partnership. Serginho Dest is destined to fill in for one of those wingback positions. He's played quite admirably for Barcelona this season. John Brooks will probably be that other defender. But just kind of understanding who that other wingback's going to be. Will it be DeAndre Yedlin? Will it be somebody else? could you slide somebody in? That's a big question. But one of the beautiful things about the men's national team right now is the wealth of talent and the wealth of talent playing in England. I think, and in the big five leagues in Europe, I think is really really important. So, which leads to me to my second big storyline is between the World Cup qualifiers and the Octagon, which is what we do over here in CONCACAF because we're a little crazy over here in CONCACAF, and the Gold Cup, which doesn't have the significance necessarily of the Euros. It's which players can Greg Berhalter call over? The January camp, which he had all MLS players, which is a traditional thing to do, but will there be a situation where, due to quarantining and things like that, players can't make their way over into the states for a game, or are there MLS players that Berhalter wants to have over that can't make the trip into Europe? So a lot of good questions. I think Greg Berhalter, he's kind of gone on record of saying, look, we're trying to win it all. We're trying to win all our World Cup qualifying games. We're trying to win the Gold Cup, which means beating Mexico, as I'm sure you're well aware. I mean that's the game. I think it's very
Bit of an
important
important
because
one, that one.
United States missed the World Cup. Is we got to get the World Cup first.
Mm.
The talent is there, but where U.S. is at, U.S. needs to play well and qualify for the World Cup. Although that might feel like a low bar, you can't get ahead of yourselves because that's what happened just a couple years ago. So I think that's where
I
the
think
U.S. men's national team is headed as we
I
start
think
this
the
year out.
important I think the important thing for yourselves, I think maybe even looking a little bit longer term it's not. I guess that World Cup will come round fairly quickly, but qualifying for that and having sort of a setup for that will, I guess, you'd look at that as being quite vital because 4 years later, it's obviously there's the small matter of you hosting it alongside Mexico and Canada and I think having some prior experience. I'm not saying that your entire squad will obviously still be playing 4 years later for the World Cup in the USA, but having some experience of a World Cup in that squad in 2026 when you host will be, I think, will be huge, and I just think you never know when it's on home soil, when you've got fans behind you. You never know how far into a tournament a country can go. So I do think the next sort of couple of years could be really exciting, and then beyond that, the actually hosting will be amazing.
Oh, absolutely! Cannot wait! Cannot wait for sure. So as we head here into the second half, Peter, we're going to play a fun little game, and you get to join this fun game that Rutledge and myself have played for the NFL. But we're going to play it for Premier League managers, and this game is called Must, Bust, or Trust. And as obviously we always trust Sergio Kun Aguero because, I mean, this guy's the ageless wonder. Age is finer than a actually a dry Argentine wine. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and forth here real quick and ask which manager in the Premier League must you have? Which manager in the Premier League is going to be the one to take you to the Premier League title? That's your must. Your trust would be which manager would you have to avoid relegation. If you're in a relegation battle, who would you want to have? And who's your bust? Who's your bust manager where you just say, not there yet? So must, bust, or trust, Prem League Manager Edition. And friend of the show, Daniel Mogg, joining us all the way from Seattle. So very excited. We've got multiple time zones going here this afternoon. But Peter, who's your must manager if you had one pick to win the Prem League title this year?
I think you'd have to go Pep. I think you've got to go Pep Guardiola. I think he's been there. He's done it in multiple countries. I think you also do it with a sort of a style about you as well. You're not just giving yourself a great chance to win the thing. With him, I think you do it with playing some really beautiful football. So yeah, Pep. I think Pep's for me at the moment the obvious choice. What about
And
you?
you
What
know,
about yourself?
I go Pep as well. I think because not only for all the reasons that you listed, but he is such a tactician, right?
Hmm.
I mean, he's like a cursed genius that he's like Beethoven, right?
Hmm.
Nothing is ever good enough, and there could be one person in the stands, or it could be 100,000 people in the stands. Pep wants to win 9-0 because that's how you play the game versus
Yeah,
a Jurgen Klopp who seems to want to ride that emotional roller coaster a little bit more. Not to say he's not a tactician, but is going to ride that emotional wave. So that's we're on the same page as it comes to must. I have a feeling that we're going to be a little different when it comes to trust here. Who are you trusting if you're in a relegation battle
so so
to
I
save you?
I've got to yeah. So I've got to be honest. From what I've seen recently over the last few years, and going for the manager that's closest, I think you'd have to go Sean Dyche at Burnley. I think what he does on a limited budget with the players he has, the squad he has, it's the exact opposite of Pep Guardiola football. It's not the prettiest, but it's effective. If you want to stay in the Premier League, I think he's your man.
There you go. Yeah, he is definitely one to avoid relegation. Um, if I'm going to trust one manager to keep us up, it's going to be Big Sam Allardyce. That's who I'm going with on the trust side. I think just his the amount of time that he's spent in the
Yeah,
Premier League, he's not only had successes but he's had failures. So he knows how to win. He has unfortunately not had some success, but he has had success. So he can be that steady hand when things seem to go wrong and things like that. So I'm going to go
I
Big
think
Sam is the man that I
I think
trust.
this is I do think is in terms of one to watch this for the rest of the Premier League season. I think if he gets out of it this season, it will be probably his best recovery as a manager.
Hmm.
Um, it's a tough ask this year to get West Brom out of that drop zone, definitely.
Got it. Yeah, so that is he's got a challenge ahead of him. That's for sure.
Yes,
And
definitely.
finally, as we round out here, must bust and trust here on Friend Stream Sports. Who's busting? Who's going to be your bust manager?
See, I had to think about this, and I think if we're saying that you're getting relegated anyway, and to watch some good foot, I think I'd go Marcelo Bielsa. From what I've seen this season, it's a bit of a left field choice, I think, but he's got Leeds playing some really good football, and if it's to say if you're going down anyway, and it's sort of well, it doesn't, it's sort of you you're gone regardless. At least he'd have you watching some good football with some players that are maybe not the best in the league. And I think it'd be a decent ride with him potentially. What about yourself?
The manager that I would say is the one that it just kind of guaranteed bust here to make sure we're not coming back and not staying up. I'm going Scott Parker at Fulham. Uh,
Interesting.
just young guy. I think he's going to get there. Um, you know, but and as a former Fulham defender, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he did spend some
Mhm.
time there at Fulham. At the Cottage. I think he's not the big time. He's not the Frank Lampard kind of guy, but he is a almost scored there, trying to keep the clean sheet while coming off with this hot point. Um, yeah, I think he just needs some time, right? Didn't have the funds, didn't have the infrastructure that guys like Frank Lampard had, and he could very well be a solid Premier League manager, solid European manager, but not the guy in England this year to stay up in the Premier League.
Yeah. No, I do think that's fair. I think again, I think, like you say, I think he is hampered a bit in terms of funds. I think he will take them close, but yeah, having a think about it, I think you're absolutely right. He's probably not keeping them up. I certainly
No, no.
back Big Sam over Scott Parker,
Big
definitely.
Sam over Scott Parker for sure. And that pulls us to the end of our first game here. It's a 2-0 win, Man City over Tottenham, which is going to be happening live on Saturday. Number one versus number seven in the table, Man City versus Spurs. Which this leads us into another fun topic that we get to do, Peter. And this is halftime hot takes. Is it kind of chilly over there in England right now?
Yeah, just slightly, just
Well,
slightly.
I would take the mittens off. I'd pull the tea off of the kettle because you know what? We've got these hot takes are guaranteed to warm you up, not just physically, but in your soul as well. So we are really excited for that. And here's our halftime hot take, Peter, and it is if you were to be starting, if you could kind of do a repick of all your squads all throughout the world, and you had one player that you had to start your team with, who would that be and why? So if you had to start from scratch, who would be the player to start from scratch with and why?
I think to start from, I think I'd have to go Kevin De Bruyne. I just think you could put anyone alongside him, who is semi decent at football, and I just think he's a joy to watch. The amount of creativity. Maybe he's not got the returns in terms of goals as Salah, but I think I think Salah's sort of enabled quite a lot by Liverpool's system. I think they're my top two, but if I had to pick one, it'd be De Bruyne. I think De Bruyne, you could slot him into any team, and I think he'd have an impact these days. I think he's that good. I think Salah potentially less so, and I think we've seen that over the recent weeks. He's coming back to form now, but yeah, for me it's De Bruyne. I just think his attacking intent, his ability to put the ball on a sixpence, and to open teams up with a single pass is. I just think he's probably the best midfielder in the world right now.
Mm, there you go. And you know me being a one who wears the light blue of Man City, I don't mind a little Kevin De Bruyne. I'm gonna give you a little surprising pick here. These are called we keep them hot here with the halftime hot takes, and I'm gonna go with Gianluigi Donnarumma, goalkeeper for AC Milan, 20-year-old goalkeeper, and here's why. If I'm starting a team from scratch and have to build a team, I got to go young. I want to go real young, but Donnarumma is a player who has played a lot of really important soccer already, not just for Italy but also for his club team. And his club team and his national team are known for packing on the pressure. I think that he's a player that, in the same way as Gigi Buffon has, you can exhibit leadership in the back. It's not just the keeper, but the keeper controlling the defense in a lot of ways. At least a portion of that midfield. I think the impact that he could have coming as a keeper, I think, could be wonderful for just the rest of the squad. As I mean, it's important because there's some days that the goals just don't come in, and you need that keeper to win, scratch out 1-0 games and things like that. So I'm going with Gianluigi Donnarumma.
Great pick, definitely great pick.
But so those are our halftime hot takes. I hope you're plenty warm now, Peter. And as we start our second game or our second half, we're going to be transitioning a little bit more. I know we talked national team and Prem League, and we're going to be transitioning a little bit more into Champions League. For that end, we're playing a little Chelsea versus Atletico Madrid here this evening. and really excited to talk some Champions League storylines, picks, things like that, upsets. It's a big time, Peter. So before we kind of break down just and pick a couple of games to break down, any big storylines that you're following as it comes to Champions League, and maybe that surprise team who's going to make that deep run?
So, I don't know if you. I don't know if you. I guess if you call it a surprise, I think the British teams. I will obviously keep my eyes on. I think the never-ending quest for Man City to see if they can finally, bring the Champions League back to the Etihad will be an interesting one. I do think in terms of storylines, I think the Barcelona PSG game is fascinating. I just think everyone's talking about, is it Messi's last hurrah? Is it, does it? I do think they'll get beat in that one with Barcelona. But you never know with him, being involved. And then I think I can't put my finger on Chelsea in terms of a surprise package. I just wonder. Atletico on paper should beat them, but with Tuchel going there and him, he shored up the defence. They've started to look a little bit more attacking. They could be the surprise package for me, I think now.
Yeah, the interesting piece, and I think where Chelsea is going to run into a problem in terms of Atleti is the fact that Atletico has such a commanding lead in the Spanish league, so they can really focus efforts on those Champions League rounds. I think is an unfortunate piece for Chelsea. Not to say that they don't have players, right? Captain America himself plays for the Blues, and Christian Pulisic, along with a ton of other talent for sure. Although Pulisic is still hurt, and he's a little side comment. He is definitely building up a career as a great talent, but usually hurt, and it's tough to be talented in the training room. No, I think you've got a lot of really interesting storylines, and I want to ask you this because Liverpool is still in it, and it kind of segues from our Premier League talk. What's going on with Liverpool? They're kind of, they've lost some sharpness.
Yeah, I think everyone's seen that, haven't they? I think you wondered. We talked at the top of the show about England's central defensive issues. I think Liverpool have suffered that and then some. I think when you take one of, if not the best centre backs in the world right now, out of their team, he's key for them. And then I think other players have suffered dips in form all at the same time. You talk about how important a keeper is, and Alisson's not been on it in the last few weeks. Salah's not been his usual self. I think they've suffered injuries, but it's all seemingly happened at the same time, and it's one of those, you can be good, but you also need a bit of luck on your side, and they've not had it this season. Whereas last, I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win the Premier League. They absolutely did, and they won it by a country mile. But everyone stayed fit for the majority of the season. They never suffered with injuries like they have this year. I do think they'll return to form. I do think they'll push Manchester City quite close in the league. But I do that Leipzig game could be, it could be really interesting. It's a real test for them. That's for certain. And you wonder if they were to get beat convincingly, you wonder, how does Klopp react? Because I don't know if he's ever been under pressure as Liverpool gaffer thus far. As he he's been steadily building, and then after winning the Premier League, when does he start to sort of feel pressure? I think that will be an interesting topic.
Mm.
Because they'll now, I think, with the squad they've got, they'll now expect success. Um, so it will be interesting. It will be interesting.
For sure, that's I think, and to kind of switch gears a little bit back to Barca PSG, which I think is the interesting thing, and here's the question: is which club is going to put more emphasis on Champions League? Right? It's always easy to say we want to win everything, but Barcelona's trailing. They're third in La Liga. PSG's third in Liga, right? So when do you say, hey, we're gonna push for Champions League, make sure we're in a Champions League spot, but we're more interested in winning Champions League this year. I see PSG as putting more emphasis on on Liga, for sure, but I think that what Barcelona is doing as we head as this team heads into a potential post-Messi life here rather shortly is trying to thread that needle of infusing the younger talent with older players, right? You got your Frankie de Jong, you've got Ansu Fati, you've got Ousmane Dembele, who's one of the longer tenure players in that lineup, but he's not. I think he's 23, I believe. And then a few of the younger players like Pedri, getting time in really important games. So I think that as much as Barca wants to, and I don't quite know if Barcelona wants to have Lionel Messi leave on a positive note with his contract leak. I'm sure you saw that story
Yeah.
come out, but I think Barcelona's trying to walk that very thin line of still being a relevant team while
hmm
while letting the old guard pass, which really is Messi and Busquets. It feels like right now, kind of letting those two emphasis players out of the lineup, and while letting the new players come in and learn. So I don't expect Barcelona to make a very deep run. If you had one pick right now, who do you think, with obviously everything could change, but who are you picking right now to say this team has probably the best shot as it stands to win Champions League?
I think with it being such a strange season, and I agree with you. I wonder about Atleti if I'm really honest, because I do think um they may get you know La Liga sewn up earlier than those. If they make it the next couple of rounds, I think they'll be able to take their foot off the gas in Spain a little bit, in terms of league performances, and really, as you say, turn their attention um, to just focusing on the Champions League and raising their games for those individual games. Yeah, for me, I think after, and they've come close a few times, haven't they, over the recent years. I think there'll be people inside their hierarchy that wants to, are desperate to finally pick that trophy up. So yeah, for me, maybe them. What about
Mm,
yourself?
beautiful. Yeah, I think that in similar ways, but as I picked Pep earlier for my manager, that's
Mhm.
a must. I think yet again, Pep's going to be the guy, and Pep can be the guy to keep this focus on a bunch of trophies.
Mhm.
Keep the focus on and take ask his team to put the blinders on the things that don't matter, focus on the things that do, and that means focusing in on Champions League, focusing in on the Prem. So
Yeah.
I think Pep can very well keep his team focused and interested because he's going to try so many crazy things, um, and want to play in such a beautiful way. I would
I
love
do.
to see a
I,
Man City Athletic final.
yeah. that'd be what a game that'd be. I think the key thing for Manchester City is if they get if De Bruyne comes back from his current injury, and stays fit, um, and if they get the bonus of Sergio coming back and hitting any sort of Sergio Aguero type form, they'll be dangerous to any team. I think. Do I think they defensively they look great at the moment? It's just have they got with De Bruyne out, with Sergio out, do they have enough going forward? Okay, they took a Liverpool team that's out of form apart at the weekend. I'm just not sure. You know, some of Sterling can sometimes go missing in big games, and I just think Aguero up front and De Bruyne in the middle inspires so much more confidence for them, and I think they'll approach those games in an entirely different mindset with them playing. So, it'd be brilliant to see Man City do it. I think it'd be
Amen
amazing.
to that. Amen to that. Well, as we finish the second half of our second game here, we're gonna have a little bit longer of a picks segment. We always like to pick games here at the end, not pick our noses, but pick games. And what we're gonna do in the same way that I asked you to pick who you think is gonna be, pick who's gonna be the hoist that Champions League trophy at the end of the year. We're going to go through kind of the big 5 leagues in Europe and just kind of give a brief thought and pick as it stands right now. Who do we see winning at the end? So, Peter, as we talk about France, who are you thinking is going to pull out here in France?
So, for me, I think Lyon. I think the experience they've got in the team, I think you could never back against PSG really, but I do think they'll overthrow Lille. I do think it'd be one of those slightly larger clubs in Lyon or PSG that end up taking it. But for me, I just think they might be with, as you say, potentially with PSG putting a bit more to having an eye on the Champions League. I think Lyon might just steal a march on them over the next few weeks and then potentially bring that one home.
Yeah, I actually also picked Lyon. We are on the same page tonight, and here's why. Their top. Not only is Lyon second in Ligue 1 with a plus 30 goal differential, but their top scorer only has 13 goals. So when I look at that, I think Lyon can score in a variety of ways, right? You can win in a variety of ways, and to me, that's always really important because there's the games when the goals are flying in, and you can win a 5-3 thriller, and then there's got to be those nights where you got to scratch out a 1-0 win or even a 0-0 draw. As much as we don't like draws here, sometimes those do indeed happen. So I'm going to go Lyon, and I think that PSG will make a valiant run. But at the end of the day, they've got a lot of distractions, and I think they're trying to figure out if they're going to go get Messi, and it's just I don't know if this is going to be their year for that. So there's France there. What are we thinking about Germany? I think you and I are going to be very similar, just like the rest of planet Earth on Germany.
Yeah, I think you can't look any further than Bayern Munich for that one. I just think the lead they've already got. I think the squad they've got. I think, and the players are just I don't think there is any other pick in Germany. I think that might be the way for as long as they keep, players like Lewandowski. I think, I just think that they're a country mile ahead of the competition at the moment, and it's going to take good recruitment from the others to catch them up.
And Bayern Munich they've even hit on their CONCACAF and MLS players. Chris Richards and Alphonso Davies, the Canadian sensation, is lighting it up. Former MLS player, I believe, for the Vancouver Whitecaps. A little Whitecaps cred here tonight. So yeah, Bayern's got it going on, along with Dortmund struggling, and yeah, they've got a real steady hand on the German league for sure. So next up we have Spain. Who we going in Spain?
I think for similar reasons I picked Bayern. I think the lead that Atleti's already got probably means that they 5 points with 2 games in hand. It should be enough. If they win those 2 games in hand, yeah, they've pretty much won it there, haven't they?
And it's looking like João Felix on our game just scored the winner for Atleti. So, a lot of winning here for Atleti. No, I think part of it too is just Barca and Real Madrid are, they're not their typical just smashing form, and yes. I think they're just down. So I think that gives a big door for Atleti to come in, hoist the title this year, and Suarez is back to his hotter than a steak knife through butter kind of form. I talk about the ageless wonder Kun Aguero. Suarez is he's the Spanish ageless wonder. An Iberico ham dipped in Spanish wine, if you will, from Uruguay. But I think Atleti's going to win in Spain there. So, what are we thinking as it comes to Italy?
See, this for me is the most difficult one to call. I'd love to see Zlatan do it again, in Italy. But for me, I just think Inter might pip them. I think. I don't know why. I think Inter have got a slightly better squad, and I think in the running that's potentially gonna be the difference maker. I think what Zlatan's doing at his age for AC is absolutely sensational. But I just think Inter might do enough.
Imagine a year to not have fans at the San Siro for that Milan derby.
Interesting fact. For the listeners. A year ago today, actually, I was sat in the San Siro watching those two play, watching AC versus Inter. And for anyone who is a football fan or soccer fan, for the American listeners, I think if you get to see a game of football, make sure and you get an opportunity to go to the San Siro, make sure you do tick that one off, because it's such an absolute cathedral of football, definitely.
Wonderful. Yeah, as it comes to Italy, I'm going AC. AC Milan is going to hold on.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're going to hold on to their lead, and it's really just a homer because I love Zlatan so much. I think he's a stud. So that's my thought there. And real briefly, as we close up here, saved the best for last. Who's lifting that English crown?
It's got to be Man City and Pep for me. I think the football they're playing at the moment, defensively they look rock solid. I do think he'll just carry them to the title now. I think it's helped the fact that Liverpool have gone off out of form. But yeah, I think he'll win it, and potentially even quite comfortably at this rate.
Yeah, that's been the piece with Pep Guardiola in England, right? He's scored goals, but can he stop? And he's stopping. His teams are stopping right now. I too am picking definitely. Man City. So same on. Yeah, I mean, I think our main difference here is going to be in Italy, but we stuck in the same city.
We did.
But no, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you joining us this evening, Peter.
Not a problem.
So. But yeah, no, we, as always, to our listeners who've made it to the end of our show tonight and will make it to the end of our podcast, we're on typically at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so that would be 1 a.m. England time on Tuesday here in the States, 1 a.m. on Wednesdays in England. Friends Stream Sports, we're on Twitch. Special broadcast tonight. We are on YouTube. We have a podcast. We talk a lot of sports, and it was a lot of fun to have you on tonight, and would love to do this again. Maybe me, you, and Rutledge, we can do a Saturday morning pre-Prem League Zoom call where we, raise our pints and our, we'll have our own version of biscuits and gravy, and go from there.
Sounds good to me.
So, well, Peter, thank you so much, and this is Friends Stream Sports, and I hope you have a good night.
Cheers, Connor.
Cheers, cheers.